Hello and welcome to our session. My name is Tom Benkowski. I'm a Director of Product Marketing here at NetScout. Today we're going to talk to you about NetScout using NetScout Smart Data for cyber investigation and remediation purposes. Before we do, just want to make a reminder that we'll have a live Q&A in our collaboration room directly following this session. So there's a little button there, a little link there. Click on that when we're done. I'm going to talk to you about NetScout Smart Data for TechOps collaboration. We're going to introduce you to our new Omnis security solution, and then we're going to take a couple components of that solution and talk to you about how they can be used for threat investigation and remediation purposes. Let's talk about visibility. It's fundamental, right? It's fundamental for effective service assurance, and it's fundamental for effective security. If you're a network analyst, you know you can't manage what you can't measure, right? You rely on things like NetFlow and packets, right? And solutions like the Ingenious solution to do your job. If you're a security person, you can't protect yourself from what you can't see. And security folks also rely on visibility to do their job too. Slightly different set of visibility though. So Gartner created something called the Security Operations Center Visibility Triad. This is something the way they visualize security teams gathering their visibility. And there's really three main sources: the SIEM, Security Information Event Manager, Endpoint Detection and Response, or EDR, and Network Detection and Response, or NDR. Each has its strengths and weaknesses and pros and cons, but all three sides are really needed and enable a security analyst to do their job of detecting threats, investigating threats, and remediating threats. Now, NetScout, for 30 years, has been pulling packets off the wire and turning it into smart data. And we really feel that the NetScout smart data is a single source of truth that can be used across all of TechOps. Not just NetOps, not just IT, but also SecOps too. Because it's the same packets. It's just a matter of looking at them from a different perspective. So what do we mean by that? Basically what we're saying is the truth lies somewhere in the packets. It's just a matter of how you're looking at it. Now, if you're looking at it from a network management perspective, using our Ingenious products or even our adaptive service intelligence technology, you're looking at it sort of like this. Show me the problems that are occurring on the network. Show me the things like bad applications, failed applications, applications that are slowly but surely failing. Show me the most important areas of my network. If you're looking at the same packets from a security perspective, it's more about, hey, show me the threats that you're seeing. Show me the malware that's maybe propagating my network. But there are times that there are situations that kind of manifest themselves like potentially slow network problems or bad performing applications when they actually may not be network problems, but they're actually security problems, and vice versa. So having a single source of smart data, like NetScout Smart Data, that is common and consistent, really sort of allows TechOps to find the true source of truth. So actually, there's a session on day 2 of our Enterprise Security Day, Enterprise Security session, in which John Ulstick, a principal analyst for ESG, will talk about the power of having a common set of data and the power of having collaboration between network teams and security teams, especially in light with what's happened over the recent pandemic. So our solution to this problem is a NetScout Omnis Security. Omnis Security is an advanced threat analytics response platform, and it's designed to make that sort of NDR side of the security triad better and less expensive. It really has 3 main sources of functionality, or 3 main types of functionality: smart visibility, smart detection, and smart response. We're just going to briefly touch upon some of these. Smart visibility. comes on the backs of our instrumentation called InfiniStream NG or vStream, a virtual version of that. Now, this instrumentation, if you know these products, you know very well that these are very robust, scalable instrumentation that can be deployed anywhere in your network. Across your high-speed backbone, 100 gig backbone, your virtual data center environment, your public or private cloud environment. As we're saying here, we have support for environments like AWS and Microsoft Azure and so on. This instrumentation pulls packets off the wire at line rate, converts them to what we call smart data. And it's this smart data that really gives the user of that data this comprehensive network visibility. So if you're a network ops person, you're utilizing the Ingenious console to do your job with this smart data. But at the same time, just by putting a little bit of software license, just turning a software license on this InfiniStream platform or vStream platform, security teams can leverage this data too through the Cyber Investigator console. And there they can use this data to detect and conduct highly contextual investigations. Now, I mentioned ASI a few times so far, but what exactly is that? What's so different about it? Well, it's the exercise of pulling packets off the wire at line rate and pulling important pieces of information out of those packets, like URLs and DNS requests and SIP and users signaling and SSL certificate information, MOS scores, things like that, as well as who's talking to who, what protocols they're using, and if there's any errors or response time issues. That's robust metadata, much more robust metadata than you would get anywhere else. And that can be used for not only NetOps purposes, but also for security purposes too. So the Cyber Investigator has the ability to leverage that smart data. It acts as a central console, but one thing it also does is detect threats. So it uses that InfiniStream instrumentation and ASI smart data, infuses that with threat intelligence from our own Atlas intelligence system or pulling threat intelligence from third parties. It uses that information to detect all sorts of threats. We can then send alerts to the SIM. It can export that information out to data lakes for other third-party analysis. But its real strength is using that smart data for contextual investigation. So that smart data, which consists of very, very robust metadata, as we've shown, and packets, can be leveraged for what's called highly contextual investigations or ad hoc hunting too. The fact is, most investigations can be done just by looking at the metadata, having the ability to pivot around, kind of follow your intuition, see things that you weren't aware of, and pivot another direction. That's all leveraging the metadata. Ultimately, you may need to get down to the packets, and the great news is that you have it there. Cyber Investigator has the ability to look at this metadata and the packets if need be. Now, once you conduct this investigation with Cyber Investigator, you may come to some conclusions, or it may influence what you want to do next, and that is remediate of some sort. One method of remediation is blocking at some point in the network, especially at the network edge. Now, you can use the results of Cyber Investigator to block in a firewall, or better, block in the Arbor Edge Defense device. This is another component of the NetScout on this security platform. This is a stateless device that sits on the edge of your network, just inside the router and north or outside the firewall. And there, it blocks inbound threats like DDoS attacks, brute force attacks, scanning capabilities, and it also can block outbound indicators of compromise. So compromised internal devices speaking to known bad places outside. So all this can be influenced either by the cyber investigator investigation, or it's all influenced by its use of threat intelligence, either from our Atlas system or from third parties. And again, since it's stateless, it actually has a dual role of not only protecting the network and the applications running behind it, but also the stateful devices like firewalls, load balancers, VPN, and concentrators as well. So that's a brief overview of NetScout on the security. There's more components. I encourage you, if you're interested, to go to our enterprise security track and learn more about this solution. So let's go into a brief use case, taking a couple of the components of the solution and show how they can leverage the NetScout Smart Data for threat investigation remediation. So we're going to start in a hybrid cloud environment, a very, very common environment today, right? On the bottom of this slide is a data center, traditional data center, using taps, span ports. We're taking packets off the network, and we're providing, or the ISNG device is taking packets off the wire, converting it to smart data. And in this case, it's handing it both to the Ingenious console as well as the Cyber Investigator console. Same thing is happening up in the AWS cloud in this environment, using things like the gateway load balancer or VPC traffic mirroring. The vStream device is pulling packets off the virtual wire, turning it into smart data, and then sending that smart data down to Ingenious One or Cyber Investigator. In Cyber Investigator, we're seeing things like malware, targeted campaigns, and command and control. Let's drill into the malware alert a little bit further. And what we see is that this activity is actually occurring in devices both in our AWS instance and on our traditional internal network too. Let's drill in further. Let's look at the instance, the host in the AWS cloud, and see who they are talking to. And we see that they're talking to some external host. In this case, we can see that's from Singapore. All we're doing is still looking at the metadata. We're kind of drilling in and drilling out of the metadata. Let's investigate further. Let's drill out and see who else was talking to that external site. And what we now see is that, wow, it's actually multiple devices, three of them from our internal legacy network or corporate network, and 2 from our AWS environment. Now, the reality is we're still just kind of pivoting around the metadata. So this is what we mean, like by a lot of the investigation can happen just in the metadata. We have all the session information. We have all the context around these connections. This is all part of the smart data that is derived from the packets with the ASI technology. And then ultimately, all right, let's drill into the packets. And maybe there we see the actual offending command that we need to be worried about. So again, you have this smart data at your fingertips. This is data that can not only be used by the NetOps team, but it's very, very valuable data that can be also leveraged by security teams too. And as we were saying, most of that investigation is just done looking through the metadata. And this is what a tier 1 analyst can do. A tier 1 security analyst can do. They don't have to have knowledge of packet decodes and things like that. That's something they'll reserve for the tier 3 analysts. When they give it to the tier 3 analyst, and that tier 3 analyst maybe ultimately goes down to the packet level, the combination of all that metadata and the packet data is what gives the security analyst confidence that this is something they need to block. And they need to block it at the perimeter of the network. Because security teams don't block things unless they're sure it's malicious. Otherwise, it's a false positive. So let's go block at the perimeter. In this case, we're just going to kind of take it from an alert and a Splunk alert in our Splunk SIM. We're going to investigate that with Cyber Investigator, and then we're ultimately going to block in our perimeter using the Arbor Edge defense device. So here we are sitting inside our Splunk SIM, and we have potential bad traffic. So it's suspicious. It's been alerted to as potentially malicious. So because we have an app that runs inside Splunk, we can simply just right-click, investigate with Cyber Investigator, and what we see is a contextual view around that alert. The 2 addresses that were originally part of it, but also any other information within that time frame as well. So this is the contextual analysis that's coming from the metadata associated with that alert automatically. From there, we can drill into the communication, the malicious communication between these 2 devices. We start doing some further analysis, and then again, we take the results of that analysis. Now that we're sure that there's something malicious, truly malicious going on, and we know exactly what it is, we then take the results of that and start our remediation efforts. Either remove the compromised hosts, segment off the portion of the network, or we block at the perimeter, either using a firewall or even better, as we talked about before, with the Arbor Edge Defense device. Get that offending command. And this is a threat filter, which is essentially creating a payload regular expression where you can drop this offending command into the Arbor Edge Defense and it will block it. In this case, it's blocking it going outbound. But it could block it coming inbound too. Doesn't matter. But essentially what we're doing is we're stopping a compromised host from getting more information, getting more commands from the command and control, and move laterally across an organization, and ultimately, cause that data breach or, maybe even a ransomware attack. But as we mentioned before, AED or Arbor Edge Defense does more than just blocking outbound. It also blocks inbound too. This is why we call it the first and last line of perimeter defense. Because it sits outside that firewall, it could not only protect the environment, the network and the applications behind it, but also the stateful devices behind it, like that firewall, the load balancer, the VPN concentrator as well. So it has a dual role of protection. So with that, hopefully you've got an idea of how you can use the NetScout Smart Data for both NetOps and SecOps purposes. How it could really is a robust source of data that enables highly contextual investigations and ultimately smart remediations at the perimeter. So the scale, scope, and consistency is really what sets us apart. It's that full line rate capture, no matter what network we're talking about. It's that real-time conversion to smart data. It's the ability to do that across your entire infrastructure, your internal network, your branch offices, or your public clouds like AWS. It's having that consistent set of data that can be used across all tech ops. And because of that, it's really how you can reduce your cost of ownership. You leverage a single platform and smart data for NetOps and security ops use cases. And when we talk about for security, we refer to it as security without borders. So with that, I'd like to thank you for attending this session. And once again, a reminder that there is a collaboration room where we will answer any questions. Thank you very much and have a great conference.